story begins with a terrifying scene on a massive mountain ridge, where monstrous creatures come tearing through the peak and advance forward. Within moments they start charging toward a helpless family standing below. The instant the people see those nightmarish beasts closing in, fear grips every one of them. Their only hope is a heavily reinforced bunker nearby, but unluckily its thick steel door is sealed shut from the inside. The people outside pound desperately on the door, while those inside sit in eerie silence, watching the suffering on a monitor as if they're deliberately leaving the family to its fate. Meanwhile, the hungry swarm of creatures races downhill at full speed, and time is running out fast. If that door doesn't open in the next few seconds, survival looks impossible. Just then, a girl grabs a metal rod lying nearby. Watching death close in, David realizes he'll have to act on his own, and he's ready to risk everything to protect his family. At that exact moment, the bunker door finally swings open. Everyone scrambles inside, narrowly escaping the monsters. What none of them know yet is that these creatures haven't just emerged on this one mountain. They've spread across the entire planet, and this family is about to get pulled into something far bigger. The story then jumps back 15 years. A geological survey crew is drilling deep underground, eventually reaching a depth of around 10,000 meters. The moment they hit that mark, the staff in the control room notice strange glitches on their monitors, followed by dark, shadowy shapes on camera that send chills through everyone watching. At first they assume the drill struck solid rock, so the engineers decide to push the equipment another 600 meters down. Soon after, the machine grinds to a sudden stop, and again they suspect a rock collision, until a closer look reveals something never seen before: bizarre, monstrous creatures on camera. Panic spreads through the crew. One worker heads out to investigate the drill site himself, but before he can get close, something monstrous tears him apart. The people back in the office look up at the sky and freeze in horror. A massive swarm of flying creatures is already descending on the city. Within minutes, the entire city is overrun. The creatures keep pouring out of the drill site, and some are powerful enough to snatch people right off the ground. They spread to every corner of the world, turning cities into ruins and hunting humans without mercy. Nothing like this destruction has ever been recorded in human history. Run! They're here! Run! They're here! Every nation deploys its full military, firing their most powerful missiles. But astonishingly, nothing seems to harm these creatures. Even the world's strongest governments start to crumble, and it feels like humanity's final battle has arrived. The situation only worsens as the creatures' numbers double instead of shrinking. Governments give up hope entirely. Then within 12 hours, the creatures begin retreating one by one to the same massive pit they emerged from, and soon every last one vanishes from the surface. But the devastation they leave behind in those 12 hours is nothing short of a nightmare. Investigators later uncover something strange. A solar eclipse had occurred on the exact day the drilling took place. Scientists conclude the creatures only emerge from their underground world during a solar eclipse, and the moment it ends, they retreat back into the pit. As soon as they're gone, authorities move quickly to permanently seal the massive opening. Time passes. People slowly rebuild their lives, and the horrifying memories begin to fade. 15 years go by and the creatures never resurface, until, at that same original drill site, soldiers start hearing strange noises again. At first they assume it's drilling equipment, but a closer listen reveals it isn't machinery at all. It's the same creatures that devastated the world 15 years ago, and they're preparing to return. Elsewhere, we meet a man named David, asleep with his son Tim. Suddenly his phone rings. A panicked friend tells him to get out of the house immediately because the disaster is happening again, as another solar eclipse is approaching. David is stunned. His friend urges him to reach his bunker as fast as possible. Turning on the TV, every channel is broadcasting the same warning. The threat is near because all the fish in the ocean have died again, just like last time, a clear sign the creatures are returning. David's ex-wife Lena, now living with her new husband, also starts receiving urgent warnings. She decides to get their son to a secure bunker immediately, since that's the only place anyone can survive until the eclipse passes. But when David goes to get his son, the boy isn't home. He's out at the park with his friend Lisa. Before they can all get back safely, the sky erupts with the panicked screeching of birds fleeing in terror, a clear sign the same disaster from 15 years ago is returning. The frightened cries of the birds send the whole city into chaos, with people abandoning their homes and racing for shelters. David reaches the highway still searching for his son, and what he sees there stops him cold, birds shrieking and fleeing en masse, a sure sign of impending catastrophe. Lena and her husband, seeing the same panic among the birds rush for shelter without hesitation. Across the city, the situation grows even worse for the poor, since only the wealthy seem able to secure spots in shelters, while everyone else fends for themselves. At the drill site, things take a turn before the eclipse even fully begins. The first creature breaks through and kills its first victim instantly. Soldiers fire round after round, but the bullets do nothing. Meanwhile, amid the citywide panic, David finally finds his son, and the family rushes toward the shelter, eventually fighting their way there. But more bad news awaits. Guards at the gate announce there's barely any room left, and only women and children can enter. Everyone else must fend for themselves. David refuses to risk his children's safety by separating, so he decides Lena should take the kids inside while he stays back. Tim, however, refuses to leave his father behind. Before they can settle on a plan, the shelter fills up completely. Left with no choice, David decides they'll head to his friend's bunker instead, located far out in the desert. The family sets off immediately, but they hit a massive traffic jam on the way, trapped with no way forward or back. Before they can find a way out, the ground starts shaking violently, as if the creatures have already woken. The sky darkens as the eclipse takes hold, and the earth splits open as the monstrous creatures begin pouring out once again, filling the sky and casting a terrifying shadow over the city. Everyone scrambles to flee, but it's already too late for many. Seeing death closing in, David decides to take an alternate route to reach the bunker faster. But Lena's husband refuses to let him drive, insisting on heading to a different shelter himself. David knows that route would take hours, time they don't have before the creatures overrun the city, so he tries to take the wheel himself. As they argue, a creature suddenly swoops down, grabs Lena's husband, and carries him away alive. Horrified, David starts the car immediately and speeds off as the creatures tear into the crowd behind them. Luckily, David manages to navigate along a dry riverbed. At one point, a pursuing creature suddenly stops, as if sensing an even greater threat ahead that it wants to avoid. As they press on, their fuel starts running dangerously low. If the car stalls, the creatures will catch up easily. Fortunately, David spots a cluster of abandoned vehicles ahead and pulls over to search for a working one. What he finds near the first car is horrifying. The passengers inside have been killed. After searching, he finds a vehicle still in working condition and gets in, only to feel a hand suddenly land on his shoulder. His heart races, certain danger is right behind him, but turning around, he finds it's just an elderly man who silently points ahead. David turns to see a creature feeding on a victim nearby. Then another creature begins slowly approaching their position. Both men duck down immediately, knowing that the slightest sound could get them killed. Fortunately, the creature passes close by without noticing them and moves on to attack someone near another car. With no time to waste, David starts the engine and pulls back toward his own family's car, signaling for everyone to switch vehicles. But the moment the door opens, the creature spots them. Just as it seems they're doomed, the elderly man steps out and hurls something at the creature to distract it, giving everyone a chance to pile into the working car. Tragically, the creature turns on the old man instead and kills him. Shaken, David starts the car and speeds away. By now the eclipse has fully darkened the sky, and exactly what everyone feared happens. Countless creatures burst from the ground and surge toward the city, and the hunting begins again worldwide. David eventually reaches the desert bunker belonging to his friend Robert, but finds the door locked tight, as if someone deliberately sealed it from inside. He pounds on the door repeatedly with no response, growing increasingly desperate. In truth, Robert isn't alone inside. A stranger is holding him at gunpoint, refusing to let anyone in. But the commotion outside has now attracted attention. Several creatures, drawn by the noise, start closing in on David's family. Just as they appear trapped, Tim's girlfriend hands David a metal rod, and at the very last second, the door finally opens. Everyone rushes inside as the creatures slam against the door from outside, but it holds. Once inside, David notices a stranger sitting in the corner who doesn't look like an ordinary civilian. He has the bearing of a soldier. His unsettling stare immediately puts David on edge. David's friend explains that the man is the son of an old friend who knew about this bunker and came here for safety. But David isn't convinced. Something about the stranger's demeanor keeps gnawing at him throughout dinner, even as his friend tries to steer the conversation elsewhere. Eventually, the mysterious soldier speaks up. Everyone expects him to share an escape plan, but instead, he warns that nowhere on Earth is safe until the eclipse ends. He claims he was present at the original drill site 15 years ago when the catastrophe first began, and that he watched roughly 2,000 people die there as the base turned into a slaughterhouse. He says he survived by falling into a deep pit filled with salt, and strangely, the creatures never came near him there. While he tells his story, David notices Robert gesturing toward a knife and instantly senses something is wrong. He quietly picks it up. The soldier, smiling, but David senses there's something hidden in this bunker. When his wife gets up to sleep, David stops her, unwilling to let anyone be alone right now. The soldier keeps watching everyone closely, clearly more dangerous than he's letting on. Realizing the group suspects him, he suddenly draws his gun and orders David to put the knife back on the table. Left with no choice, David complies. With the secret no longer containable, Robert finally reveals the truth. This man is actually a commando who fled the moment danger appeared 15 years ago, eventually making his way to their bunker, where he claimed to be wounded and desperate for shelter. Robert had been suspicious from the start, which is why he initially refused to open the door. But his wife felt sorry for the stranger and convinced him otherwise. The moment the man got inside, however, he dropped the act, pulled a gun, and has been holding the household hostage ever since. Stunned by this revelation, everyone now understands why the door stayed shut so long earlier. The soldier had been blocking it. Before anyone can react further, a snake-like creature slithers in. Through a ventilation shaft and attacks. Robert wrestles it under control while David seizes the moment to grab the gun from the soldier and opens fire on the creature repeatedly, but it's too fast to pin down. Just as it lunges at David, Robert's wife manages to slice through it, allowing David to finally subdue the soldier. Unfortunately, Robert's wife was bitten during the struggle, and her condition starts deteriorating rapidly. Without urgent treatment, she won't survive. Checking the cameras, David sees creatures surrounding the bunker on every side, making escape look nearly impossible, with hours still left before the eclipse ends. In this tense moment, the captured soldier reveals he has a vehicle hidden near the hills, and a route to the original drilling facility, where they could find medical help and a fortified military shelter. With no better option, David agrees to the plan and everyone prepares to move. Robert hands out hidden weapons to the group and gives David a container of salt, telling him it will prove useful later. To distract the creatures, David opens the main gate as a decoy while the group slips out through a rear exit, heading toward the valley where the soldier's hidden vehicle waits. The night is tense. Along the way, they spot a strange creature standing motionless by the roadside, almost like a statue. Tim's girlfriend, curious, approaches it despite warnings, not realizing it's still alive. The moment she reaches out, tentacles burst from the ground and wrap around her, but David manages to save her just in time. By the time dawn breaks, they still haven't found the valley, surrounded instead by a city already reduced to ruins. Eventually, luck turns and they spot the hidden vehicle. Everyone climbs in, but before they can start the engine, a swarm of creatures appears on a nearby ridge, closing in fast. Robert's wife, now certain she's beginning to transform, grabs her husband's gun and steps out of the vehicle, choosing to sacrifice herself rather than endanger the group. Despite her husband's desperate attempts to stop her, she walks toward the approaching creatures, and within moments, they consume her, buying the others crucial time to escape. Devastated, the group presses on, and eventually reaches the military base, only to find its massive gate already broken open. The soldier tries repeatedly to reach his unit by radio, but gets no response, suggesting the worst has already happened inside. Weapons drawn, they enter cautiously and find no survivors anywhere. The creatures had clearly wiped out everyone at the base already. Robert, injured during the earlier struggle, is also fading fast, so the group splits up. Lena takes the children and Robert toward the medical bay, while David and the soldier head to the control room to restore power. There, the soldier explains that the massive pit the creatures emerge from is the very same hole drilled 15 years ago. For years, the government tried sealing it permanently, believing salt could hold the creatures back, and poured millions of tons of it into the pit. But the hole proved too deep to ever fully fill, and every containment effort eventually failed. Hearing this, David wonders whether humanity has any real chance left, if even years of preparation couldn't stop these creatures. Inside the control room, David restores power to the base. As they turn to leave, something drips onto the soldier's head. Looking up, they find a mangled body hanging from the ceiling, proof the creatures are still lurking somewhere inside. They rush to warn the others in the medical bay that everyone needs to evacuate immediately. The trouble is, the nearest connected facility is too far to reach, with the eclipse still 2 hours from ending, leaving them stuck. The soldier suggests hiding in a reinforced storage bunker below until the eclipse passes, but as they head there, a hidden creature ambushes him. David fires repeatedly with no effect, until the soldier hastily reloads with based rounds, instantly killing the creature. The gunfire, however, draws more creatures their way. Panicking, the soldier abandons the group and locks himself inside the storage room alone. David pounds on the door, but gets no response. The soldier, already infected, is bracing to transform into one of the creatures himself. Meanwhile, David hides with his family in the machine room, where he notices the salt-based water system has stopped functioning, explaining why the defense system failed and let the creatures through in the first place. With no other option, David heads alone toward the control room to restart the saltwater defense system. Just as he leaves, the creatures break through the machine room door behind him, forcing everyone else to flee. David crawls through narrow, dark pipes to reach the control room, where a creature is already feeding on a body. He manages to reactivate the system, sending salt water flowing back through the pipes. As he tries to escape, the creature spots and grabs him, but luckily he still has salt water on hand, and throwing it directly at the creature reduces it to ash instantly. Returning to the machine room, he finds his family gone and the area in disarray, realizing a new threat has emerged. Elsewhere, the rest of the group finds themselves surrounded as creatures close in from every direction. David spots an announcement system and broadcasts a warning to stop firing, but the main switch is located right where the most creatures are gathered. Without hesitation, Robert grabs an axe and starts cutting down creature after creature, but their numbers eventually overwhelm him. Just before they can finish him off, he manages to pull the main lever, flooding the entire base with salt water. The creatures convulse in agony as the water hits them, and the battlefield fills once more with the sounds of their destruction. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief watching them fall. But the salt water supply is running low, and suddenly the ground shakes violently again. As the eclipse ends, the surviving creatures begin retreating back toward the deep pit they came from. Just as everyone starts to relax, a new threat appears. The infected soldier returns, now fully transforming, and aware his death is near, he decides to take everyone down with him, firing at Tim. David reaches him just in time and takes him down before he can do more damage. Relief is short-lived though, as the ground splits open once more, releasing an enormous, spiked creature far larger than any of the others, clearly the leader of the swarm. It swallows the transformed soldier whole before turning on the survivors. Everyone retreats into the control room as the massive creature smashes through the door behind them. Quickly mixing salt and chemicals together, David hurls a makeshift salt bomb at the creature the instant it breaks in. The resulting explosion incinerates it completely.